Good morning. Happy Thursday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect.
Is one of the ways that you can tell that they're getting full relative motion just like how easy it is? Is that one of the ways that you might be able to tell other than just looking at like, is the tibia relatively behind, like toes grabbing, you can see that right away. But would one of the ways you could tell be that somebody's just having a really easy time of it, or is that not so good of a tell?
Yeah. You ever do a split squat with a 225-pound barbell on your shoulders?
Nope.
Okay. Try that.
Okay.
And then do a body weight split squat.
Okay. I'm guessing that you wouldn't be able to access early, right? You would be like,
Okay. So always remember that as I increase the magnitude of the lift, right? So I'm adding weight to the lift. As I add more and more weight, I am taking away space for me to move into, right? Okay. So what you're recognizing is as you access more relative motion, there is less effort required, right? Because the amount of muscle that you have to invest in that activity has to be less to access relative motion. So you remember, higher force production takes relative motions away.
right.
Okay. So if I increase complexity, if I'm unfamiliar with an activity, if I add load to an activity, all of those are influences that reduce, if we use like an old biomechanical term, it reduces the degrees of freedom. So you have less access to relative motion under all of those circumstances. Okay.
Right.
As you gain access to relative motion, so you think about that. So I have to be able to concentrically and eccentrically orient muscles in a coordinative manner, right? And eccentrically oriented muscle doesn't have tension on it.
Right.
So it feels effortless. So my range of motion, my excursion of range of motion improves. And so that's what you're recognizing. So you're absolutely right. That is like one of those things that you would start to recognize. Okay.
Right.
But it's also helpful for you to understand how hard an exercise is for your client.
Right.
So you sort of threw yourself on your sword and say, yeah, I've been screwing up my clients. Not necessarily, because you don't have their perception of how hard the activity is to begin with.
True.
Okay. My mom has a lot of trouble with split squats, just dealing with gravity. She's 88. Yeah, it's tough. Let's be honest. Okay. She's more of a box squatter than a split squatter, but point being is for her body mass is a significant challenge. Therefore, she would use less relative motion in that activity. I would expect it to be less, and I would expect her perception of the activity to be more difficult, right? As she would become more skilled, as her force production would increase, the relative magnitude of that exercise is reduced. She should be able to access more relative motion. Now you know why you train athletes. I want, ultimately, right? I want them to have more relative motion at higher percentages of effort so they can distribute forces and loads as they need to until they need peak forces, which I know right away they're going to lock everything together as they should, right? But I don't want them to walk around, just walking around should not be, a sufficient stimulus to restrict relative motions. Right. But your recognition is on point. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you, let's just say that your PR back squat is 100 kilograms for those of you on the metric system, because I'm an American and we don't use the metric system, but we're going to talk in kilograms. Okay. So you do a 100-kilogram squat and you train and you train and you train, and 2 years later, you do a 200-kilogram squat. And you put the 100 kilograms back on. Do you think you have more relative motion with the 100 kilograms than you used to? It's easier, right?
Yeah. Okay. I
Because
see.
it's 50% of your 1RM now instead of your 1RM.
So if we were to do the split squat that you were talking about, you would feel you would feel a lot of relative motion after doing the barbell variation, just because it's just so easy.
Yes.
Got it. Got
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I said, your thought process is totally correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So
But
I
don't
guess
think that you're screwing people up. They're just giving you information as to how hard an activity is, which helps
right.
you make decisions in the gym.
Right. So I guess, I mean, maybe there's a lot to this question. I'm hoping this is a simple question, but so if somebody's in the top of a split squat, there's going to be some obvious tells that they're working too hard, like they might not be able to breathe, but yep. And you'll see like things squeezing, in their legs like crazy. Um, how might you if that's their orientation towards it, and they're trying to really work hard in that top position, how might you test to see maybe this is just the fact that they're trying to work too hard, by cueing them in a certain way, or by, like, do you just say, hey, relax? Do you say, I mean,
Do you want them, Thomas? You think that's funny? That was good. Yeah, we don't want them to relax. Like I don't. That's not a cue that I would use necessarily under duress. Um, the fluidity that you're looking for, right? Again, it may just be the fact that they're not sure what to do yet.
yeah,
Like they're learning how to perform the activity in question. And so then that just might be a cue from you as to, hey, feel your foot this way. Hey, make sure that your knee is guiding in this direction, and so on and so forth. And then maybe loading it in such a way to produce the output.
got it.
So they can, you have to give people credit for learning, because like I said, when you first learn anything, especially something this complex, a split squat's pretty complex for most people, right? I mean, it really is. You're taking a base of support and changing its shape, and they are unfamiliar with how to control that, right? You will always see a reduction in relative motions under those circumstances when they are first exposed to it, because they got to figure out how to do it. They know what it looks like. They know what shape they're supposed to be in. They just don't know how to get there and control it at the same time. So they always over recruit, right? Muscle to stop motion from occurring. That's going to be the bias. And then as they get used to it, but again, it's great for you from there's two ratings that you always use as a coach. How hard do they think it is? And then what does it look like to you? And so you're always rating of technique. Their technique is going to point you in a direction as to how to manipulate that activity to arrive at the outcome that you desired. So you'd put somebody in a regular old split squat, and it's really, really challenging. You hear the breath hold, you hear the guttural sound as they're moving through it. And it's just like a body weight split squat. And it's like, okay, let's elevate your front foot. Okay, so now I just took some load away from them. I moved them back towards an earlier representation, and now that doesn't happen.
Right.
See, I just reduced the magnitude of the load on the activity to make it a little bit easier for them to manage.
Right.
Or maybe I put them, I adjust their stance a little bit, or maybe I put an offset load on them, right? Again, it's like whatever influence you're trying to promote.
Right.
Okay.
Cool.
But I think you understand.
Okay.